think that might be unique to the Muppets as well, but
doesn't matter. I think everyone has picked up by now. I'm just like quoting the Muppet,
It's okay.
the Muppet edition. But anyway, and so then he goes and he tries to make things better. So like all the people he's run into in the story prior to going to bed, he goes and he does some kindness to them. So he goes and he gives a bunch of money to the I don't know what those they're called, the people who are asking for money for the poor.
Oh, yeah.
He goes and he gives
charity
them a bunch
that
of money.
had come and asked.
He gets the largest chicken and takes it
Turkey.
to Bob.
Yeah.
Oh, right, turkey. Takes it to Bob Cratchit's house to give him like a bonus, and he ups his salary, and he says, I want to make sure that like your family is taken care of and that you're happy and blah blah blah.
Yeah, I think in the Muppet when he pays the mortgage on their house. I don't know if that happens in the real one or not, but
yeah, I don't remember either.
He also visits the nephew.
Yeah, he visits the nephew. He like kisses him on the cheek and says something about merriment and Merry Christmas and stuff. And the nephew is like, "Who are you?"
Yeah,
which is funny. And then like everyone lived happily ever after.
Yeah, that's the story. It's such a good story. I think it's a radically simple story in concept, right? It's the idea that someone's unkind, is greedy, is a miser, is consumed by his obsession with wealth, and doesn't think of others. Has some reckoning, right? Has these visions of his past, his present, his future, and that sees the consequences of his actions, and then says, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be a better person. And then does so. So it's satisfying in that way.
It's kind of like the Grinch as well. Like his heart grows 3 sizes, and
sure,
like,
yeah.
he was a jerk at the beginning, and at the end, everyone loves him because he's so nice and stuff. It's kind of the same concept.
Yeah. And this is at a time where, Christmas is a popular holiday, but probably doesn't have the weight that it does today, in terms of being like sort of the most popular holiday, at least in America. And I assume most of the Western Christian world. Right. And Dickens, I think, is a big part of popularizing the holiday, right? Reinvigorating our conception of it, our, love affair with it, and the idea of, charity and generosity and its association with that time of year. He also popularizes he didn't coin the phrase humbug or Merry Christmas, but popularizes those things and brings it into popular vernacular, and that sort of persists into today. But I think personally, one of the sort of triumphs, and I said this earlier, of Dickens is his prose. He's a master of simile. He loves to describe and compare and use, language in a way that still resonates today, which is incredible because it's like, 150 years ago, and still makes sense today, and is very affecting. And part of this might be the fact that like I've read it 2 or 3 times. I've watched a dozen adaptations, some every year for 30 years, right? But I chose some of my favorite quotes that if you're like me and you have consumed these adaptations, you know them by heart, right? So from the beginning of the novel, describing Scrooge, oh, but he was a tight-fisted hand at the grindstone, Scrooge, a squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scraping, clutching, covetous old sinner, hard and sharp as flint, from which no steel had ever struck out generous fire, secret and self-contained, and solitary as an oyster. The cold within him froze his old features, nipped his pointed nose, shriveled his cheek, stiffened his gait, made his eyes red, his thin lips blue, and spoke out shrewdly in his grating voice. A frosty rime was on his head and on his eyebrow and his wiry chin. He carried his own low temperature always about him. He iced his office in the dog days and didn't thaw it out 1 degree at Christmas. And he's using, color and temperature to describe his temperament, right?
Yeah.
We're describing his physical appearance, but we're also describing the way he acts and the way he interacts with each other, and says so much in such a small amount of space. It's incredible writing, in my opinion. One of my favorite scenes is when Marley visits him at the beginning, because I think it sort of does the sort of pyramid that if you've ever like been taught how to give a presentation, they're like, tell him what you're going to tell him. Tell him what, tell him the thing you're going to, frick. I don't know if you've ever done this, but like there's at the beginning of the presentation, you're supposed to tell them what you're going to tell them. Then during the presentation, you tell them the things that are important. And then at the end, you tell them what you told them. And Marley's the telling them what you're going to tell them, right? It summarizes the whole thing in the first like 15 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Marley was dead to begin with. There's no doubt whatever about that. The register of his burial was signed by the clergyman, the clerk, and the undertaker, the chief mourner. Scrooge signed it, and Scrooge's name was good upon change for anything he chose to put his hand to. Old Marley was dead as a doornail. I wear the chain I forged in life, replied the ghost. I think I made it link by link and yard by yard. I girded it of my own free will, and out of my own free will I wore it. Is its pattern strange to you? I just love the way that they describe that. Like, I built this chain and I forged it in life.
Mm-hmm.
What a great way to say that.
Link by link, yard by yard. But also saying yard by yard is expressing how long that chain is. It's measured in yards.
Yes. And then also one of my favorite ones is when Scrooge has his turn at the end, right? He's talking to the spirit of Christmas future. I will honor Christmas in my heart and try to keep it all the year. I will live in the past, the present, and the future. The spirits of all three shall strive within me. I will not shut out the lessons that they teach. Oh, tell me, may I sponge away the writing on this stone? Which is such a amazing visual. He's not just asking, can I redeem myself? He's saying, at the gravestone, can I sponge out the writing?
Mm-hmm.
Can this be changed?
Yeah. Well, and I really like the connection there to say, like, I will honor Christmas in my heart. And he's not saying like just on the one day. He says,
right,
and try to keep it all the year. So
I'm going to be a changed person
forever.
Yes.
And I think like even contemporary listeners are probably thinking like, yeah, I don't keep the Christmas spirit all year round. There is like a certain time in my life where I'm like more generous than others or happier than others or whatever. So I'm sure that all of us or most of us fall short of this idea of like keeping the spirit of Christmas all year. Like there's just that one sentence by itself says a lot.
And then Dickens even gives the omniscient narrator it's just excellent text. Scrooge was better than his word. He did it all and infinitely more. And to Tiny Tim, who did not die, he was a second father. He became as good a friend, as good a master, and as good as man, as good as the old city knew, or any good old city, town, or borough in the good old world. I love this. It's so good. I love that, in the Muppet version, we put it in the mouth of Gonzo, and it's profound.
Yeah. Oh, I love how Gonzo drops like all the lines. Like he actually is Charles Dickens in the story. Like he, at the very beginning, he's like, I'm Charles Dickens. And Rizzo the rat is like, no, you're not. And he's like, shut up. And then they just keep going. It's really funny. But yeah, and the inflection, he goes, he did it all and infinitely more. And to Tiny Dim, who did not die, he was the second, like the Muppet delivery of that's pretty funny as well.